Long before the world as we know it existed, there was chaos, a void of infinite darkness and possibility. From that nothingness came gods, titans, and heroes, shaping the very fabric of existence. Welcome to Legends Through Time Oldies, where we journey through the myths, legends, and timeless stories of our past. Today we delve into a tale of creation, divine struggle, and heroic adventure stories that have echoed through the ages and continue to inspire wonder and awe. Prepare yourself, for history is alive, and legend awaits. Before time existed, before the first stars glimmered in the void, before the earth or sky could claim shape, there was chaos. It was not emptiness, nor light, nor darkness, but a boundless, unshaped expanse that held within it all potential and all mystery. From this formlessness, nothing stirred, yet everything slept, waiting for the spark that would give birth to existence. From the depths of chaos emerged Gaia, the earth itself, vast and eternal. She spread in all directions, a foundation for all that would come, fertile and unyielding. Mountains lay in her mind, rivers traced in her thoughts, and valleys yawned beneath her vast form. From her body, life would one day spring. Yet in this earliest hour, she was alone, silent, and aware of her own vastness. From the same infinite void arose Nyx, the night, draping the cosmos in shadow. She moved like a living veil, soft yet impenetrable, her presence shaping the first sense of separation between forms. Her darkness was not fear, but mystery, a canvas upon which creation would paint its wonders. From her depths came Erebus, the darkness of the deep, the spaces unseen, where beginnings and endings intertwined. Yet not all that emerged was shadow. From chaos also came Eros, love, the force that binds, that draws opposites together, that whispers potential into being. Where Gaia, Nyx, and Erebus represented stability and mystery, Eros represented motion, attraction, and the inevitability of connection. His presence ensured that life, once born, would seek union and transformation. Gaia, in her solitude, began to stir. From the richness of her body, she gave birth to Uranus, the sky, a vast dome that stretched above her, covering her with brilliance and shadow alike. Uranus and Gaia united, their presence shaping the first separation of sky and earth. From their union came new beings of immense power, the Titans, towering and eternal, who would one day rule the cosmos, the Cyclopes, one-eyed smiths capable of crafting divine weapons, and the Hecatoncheires, monstrous beings of 50 heads and 100 hands, whose strength could shake mountains. Yet even in this first harmony, discord had begun. Uranus, fearing the strength of his children, pressed them back into the womb of Gaia, bearing the Cyclopes and Hecatoncheires deep within her body. Gaia groaned beneath their weight, feeling both the anguish of imprisonment and the inevitability of vengeance. From the depths of her pain, she conceived a plan, crafting a weapon of unyielding adamant, shining with the potential to overthrow the tyranny of the heavens. As Gaia's thoughts moved like rivers of fire, she imagined the future, the rise and fall of generations, the shaping of mountains, the birth of oceans, and the endless cycle of life and death. From the union of her body with Uranus, she foresaw the struggle that would define the cosmos. Parent against child, power against cunning, creation against destruction. She felt the stirrings of destiny in every stone, every breeze, every spark of the void. From chaos, the first patterns began to emerge. The stars glittered faintly in the distance, constellations waiting to form. The earth quivered, anticipating mountains and forests. Rivers whispered their beginnings, carving paths yet unrealized, and the air trembled with the breath of possibility. Thus, from the shapeless void, the first age of the world was born. The earth and sky stretched across infinity, darkness and light interwove, and the first forces of life stirred beneath the watchful eyes of their creators. Yet even in this newborn world, the seeds of conflict, ambition, and destiny were sown. The stage of existence was set, the age of chaos had ended, and the first dawn of creation began, trembling with potential and shadow, waiting for the children of Gaia and Uranus to rise and shape the world in ways that even chaos itself had not foreseen. Beneath the vast sky of Uranus, Gaia's body quivered with the weight of her hidden children. The Cyclopes and Hecatoncheires, trapped within her, stirred with frustration and power that no force could contain. Their cries were muffled, yet every moan and thrum of strength reverberated through her, echoing across the mountains and valleys that would one day be. Gaia felt a fury older than time, a fire of justice that demanded action. From the depths of her being, she fashioned a weapon, a sickle of adamant, sharp beyond all measure, gleaming with the promise of rebellion. She pressed it close, feeling the pulse of the cosmos respond, knowing that its strike would not only wound a tyrant, but ignite a chain of events that would echo through eternity. Yet fear shadowed her plan. Even as Gaia prepared, she knew that Uranus was cunning and merciless. Who among her children would dare to rise against him? The Titans, mighty though they were, trembled at the thought of challenging the dome of heaven itself. It was Cronus, the youngest, whose courage burned brighter than the rest. Quiet, cunning, and fearless, he accepted the task. Hidden by Gaia, he awaited the moment when Uranus would descend to cover the earth, and when the stars aligned, he struck. With a swift, decisive motion, Cronus cut away the tyranny of the sky. The blood of Uranus spilled across Gaia, and from it, new life sprang unbidden. The Erinyes, spirits of vengeance, emerged, their cries echoing the fury of the earth herself. The giants rose, embodiments of strength and terror. The Maliae, nymphs of the ash tree, sprouted among the bloodied soil, their forms delicate yet resolute. From the severed fragments cast into the sea, Aphrodite emerged, radiant and eternal, her beauty shaping the passions and desires that would one day stir gods and mortals alike. The cosmos trembled at her presence, for she was both creation and temptation, born of blood and foam, of wrath and the secret longing that binds all things together. With Uranus defeated, the Titans were freed from their prison. They emerged immense and awe-inspiring, their power stretching across the sky and earth. Mountains seemed to bow beneath their weight, rivers changed course to honor their passage, and the forests whispered their arrival. Yet the prophecy of Uranus lingered, even in his absence. Cronus, now ruler of the cosmos, held dominion over the Titans, but the seed of his downfall had been planted. Gaia, wise and patient, knew that history moves in cycles. The oppressed rise, power corrupts, and time itself becomes the ultimate arbiter. In the quiet hours after the rebellion, the earth itself began to pulse with life. Forests grew thick and tangled, rivers carved paths into valleys yet unnamed, and the winds sang across the mountains. Chaos had receded, yet its memory remained in the restless Titans, in the hidden strength of the imprisoned Cyclopes, and in the murmurs of Gaia herself. Thus began the Age of Titans, a time of strength, of order wrested from chaos, yet also a time pregnant with tension, ambition, and the promise of rebellion yet to come. The universe had taken its first form. Mountains rose, skies spread, rivers flowed, and within the heart of Gaia, the promise of life and the inevitability of conflict beat as one. With Uranus dethroned and the Titans free, the cosmos entered a new era. Cronus, youngest yet boldest among the Titans, claimed dominion. The sky and earth obeyed his will, and the universe, still trembling from the upheaval, bent itself to the order of his rule. The rivers flowed more predictably, the mountains loomed with solemn majesty, and the wind whispered obedience through the forests. For a time the world seemed at peace. The mortals had not yet appeared, and the earth breathed quietly under the watch of the Titans. Yet beneath this calm, Cronus carried a shadow in his heart, the prophecy of Uranus, a whisper older than time itself, that he too would be overthrown by his own child. The words haunted him in every rustling leaf, every tremor in the mountains, every whisper of wind across the oceans. In fear and defiance, Cronus took his sister Rhea as consort, and together they bore children. One by one, the newborn gods entered the world: Hestia, Demeter, Hera, Hades, and Poseidon. Yet Cronus, consumed by dread, seized each child and swallowed them whole, imprisoning their divinity within himself. Gaia, who had guided him against Uranus, watched in sorrow as the cycle of fear repeated. Rhea grieved, her sorrow deep and silent, for even the Titans trembled before Cronus's might. Yet within her heart a spark of hope remained. When she bore her sixth child, Zeus, she carried him to a hidden cave on the slopes of Mount Dicte in Crete, a sanctuary shrouded from the eyes of the cosmos. There the infant god was nurtured by the divine goat Amalthea, who fed him her milk and guarded his life with tireless devotion. Around Zeus, the curates, armored guardians of the earth, clashed their spears and shields in unending rhythm, their sounds masking the cries of the newborn, ensuring that Cronus would remain unaware of the child who carried his doom. In secret, Gaia and Rhea watched over the infant, their hope entwined with the growing power within him. As Zeus matured, he became a figure of latent force and quiet cunning. The winds of the mountains whispered through the caves, carrying the scent of destiny. The rivers seemed to quicken in his presence, and even the forest bent subtly toward his path. He was a god conceived in secrecy, yet destined for upheaval, the seed of rebellion hidden within the very body of the cosmos. The age of Cronus, though outwardly golden, was one of fear and restraint. The Titans ruled, but their might was tempered by dread of prophecy. The earth and heavens flourished in a fragile balance. But beneath that harmony, the first stirrings of future conflict moved like hidden currents. One day the quiet would shatter, and the cycle of power, rebellion, and divine struggle would continue. Thus the age of the Titans stood, magnificent and terrible, its foundation set in fear, its future poised upon the edge of inevitability. Hidden in the sacred caves of Crete, Zeus grew in secret, nourished by Amalthea's milk and guarded by the tireless Curetes. The mountains themselves seemed to recognize his presence. Winds whispered through jagged peaks, rivers swelled with vitality, and forests swayed with unseen reverence. Even in infancy, he radiated the quiet force of inevitability. Years passed, and the god matured into strength, wisdom, and cunning. Gaia and Rhea guided him, teaching him the histories of the cosmos, the deeds of the Titans, and the hidden weaknesses of his father Cronus. Zeus learned that destiny, though spoken in prophecy, could be shaped with wit and resolve, and he trained himself in patience, observation, and strategy. At last, the time came to confront the tyranny that had swallowed his siblings. Under Gaia's counsel, Zeus crafted a plan. From the wisdom of the ages, he obtained a potion, a draught of such force that it could compel even the mighty Cronus to yield. In courage born of necessity, he descended from the hidden caves, approaching the court of Cronus with stealth and precision. When Cronus drank, the spell took hold. The children he had swallowed over the years were expelled from his body, emerging fully grown, radiant with divine power, and freed from the years of imprisonment. Hestia, Demeter, Hera, Hades, and Poseidon stepped into the light, each awakening to the purpose of vengeance and justice. Together with Zeus, they formed a new force, a covenant of siblings united by betrayal and destiny. The heavens and earth trembled with anticipation. Cronus called to his fellow Titans, and the old order marshaled its strength. Mountains rose, oceans churned, and the air became heavy with the power of divinity. The world itself seemed to brace for the coming storm. Thus began the Titanomachy, a war unlike any the cosmos had ever known. For 10 years the heavens were shaken, oceans boiled, and the very foundations of the earth quaked. Titans hurled mountains, wreathed in flame and fury, while the Olympians struck with thunder, earthquake, and tidal surge. The Cyclopes, now freed from their prison in Tartarus, forged weapons of unimaginable power. Zeus's thunderbolt, Poseidon's trident, and Hades' helm of invisibility, gifts of fire, storm, and shadow that could alter the course of fate itself. The Hecaton Kyries, with their 100 hands and 50 heads, joined the Olympians, casting boulders and shaking the battlefield with every motion. Titans fell, chained and defeated, and the old order's dominion crumbled beneath the might of the new generation. Cronus himself, struck down by the fury of his children, was bound and cast into Tartarus, the eternal abyss. The Titans who had stood beside him were imprisoned, guarded by the very Hecaton Kyries, whose strength had once been feared. With victory secured, the Olympians ascended, radiant and unchallenged. Mount Olympus rose as their seat of power, a shining palace above the clouds from which they would watch, guide, and sometimes intervene in the affairs of mortals and gods alike. The age of the Titans had ended. The age of the Olympians had begun. Yet even in triumph, the echoes of chaos remained whispers of power unclaimed, shadows of conflict, and the inevitable cycles of destiny that would continue to shape the cosmos for ages to come. And so the stories of gods and heroes, of chaos and order, live on, not only in ancient scrolls or stone temples, but in the hearts of those who listen and remember. From the rise of the Titans to the courage of mortals, the echoes of legend remind us that heroism, wisdom, and the divine are never far from our own lives. Thank you for traveling with us through time, uncovering the old stories that shape the world. If you enjoyed this journey, subscribe and join us again on Legends Through Time Oldies, where the past comes alive and every legend has a story to tell.